All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this remote meeting of the Sixth-Town Regional Planning Board being held on November 18th, 2025. I see a quorum, so I'll do a roll call vote in a minute. This meeting is being held in accordance with House Bill 62 of the 194th General Court. And so all votes being remote are going to be by roll call vote. So let's get this started. We have roll call vote. Why don't I call out the names and you just say present or here so we can go through this. Greg,
Yeah, here.
Alan Genevieve is here, Karen O'Neill,
Here.
Dorinda Bell up,
Here.
Jane Dutcher,
Here.
Deborah Potey.
Here.
Hi, Michelle Giarrusso,
Here.
Deb Loomer.
Here.
I don't think I missed anyone. We also have Mike Jackson from the a reporter that's here. We have Brian Snell, who's a select board member from Warwick visiting. We have Lindsay McCarthy, who's on the outreach working group. And this meeting is being recorded. We do have a representative that may come in a little bit late like last time from Irving, Kelly Skype. So if other people come in and if I don't notice that, just make a note, maybe Greg, if you see it, of the time, and we'll add that to the minutes. So this meeting obviously is being held remotely in public. We welcome all of those that have decided to watch this evening. And so we have a full agenda, so let's just move forward. So we have two sets of minutes. I thank Greg for pulling those together. One is October 14th minutes and the other is the November 4th minutes. And here's what I'd like to do for efficiency reasons. I'd like to put on the table first the 14th and have people review them and make any comments or suggestions or whatever. And then I'd like to move to and if they're going to be amended, we'll remember that for the motion. Then I'd like to do the November 4th minutes and let's review those. And if there are any amendments, offer them. And then when we're done, we'll have one roll call vote to approve as amended or whatever that language would be, these two sets of minutes, okay? Because roll call votes can take a long time if we keep going through it. So let's start with October 14th. Are there any amendments or okay? I will go to the November 4th minutes. Are there any amendments to those? All right, then I will entertain a motion to approve the October 14th and the November 18th minutes. So I would entertain that motion.
So moved. Second.
Jane moved it and Dorinda seconded it.
Michelle.
And
Yeah, I think Michelle beat me.
oh,
Yep.
okay.
Oh, wow.
Michelle, you went to the budget. You went to the buzzer first. All right, roll call vote. Greg,
Yes.
Alan Genevieve, yes. Karen,
Yes.
Dorinda,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Deb Potey,
Yes.
Deb Loomer.
Yes.
Did I miss anyone?
Michelle, yes.
Where are you, Michelle? You're not on my screen anymore.
Oh, I put my,
Oh, okay. There you are. I see your name. That's fine. All right. So those pass unanimously. Moving to the next item.
that's because I'm reading.
So before we move on to some other business, I just share a couple of things that are very helpful in our process. I received a communication from Sean Cronin from DOR, and I had written an email and requesting that he grant us yet another extension, and explain to him what we use the money for and what we'd be looking to finish up the grant with. And so the bottom line was he decided to honor the request of extending it till June 30th of 26. So that will be very helpful in some of the other initiatives we want to explore. We don't have the 31st hanging over us, so we can't relax. We'll keep moving forward, but that does take some pressure off of trying to get a few things done very rapidly. So I was really grateful to him for that, and he's looking forward to our report at the end of the process. So there's that. The other thing is I had some communication. I had reached out to the Office of Campaign and Finance, shared the brochure, received a lot of feedback about our role and what the do's and don'ts are. And so she then spoke to the director, and after a few correspondences and conversations, they have given the green light to we can send out our brochure. So I will tomorrow get that moving forward, and then that will be disseminated. So that was a second thing that was kind of good news to be able to take all that hard work and energy that was put into that to move that out. We had a meeting. Let's see, where are we? So we're under proposed regional agreement. So there are a number of things on the agenda that I just want to kind of touch on in this statement. So we met with Desi again, talking about the regional agreement. And as I said at the previous meeting, I was going to run by them the possibility of, presenting a second agreement, and one for 5 towns and one for 6 towns. So the Chris Lynch and Michelle Griffin said that they were going to review that with their legal counsel. So when we have our meeting on the 24th, we can see, what that thought process is. So one of the things behind it is looking at, where Warwick is, and how at least some of the people at the school side, feel it very strongly, and about, this school remaining independent. And then I've heard people on the other side, having a different view about that. So having a ballot question would be pretty important if we're able to do that. We had a request at the last meeting I was going to put out there to the select boards to see what they thought about that. I have not done that yet. There was some other information that we were looking at. So regarding a 5-town regional or a 6-town regional. So the Board of Selectmen, 2 members voted to support, doing a ballot or writing to the legislators to see if they would support a ballot question. I think one member who abstained, he raised a concern that other people have expressed, which is that they want to make sure, or that that process doesn't hold up some kind of a vote in the spring. That there needs to be some kind of a resolution one way or the other. So I think we all are looking forward to having this come to the towns, and if it can come through a ballot question in all of the towns, then that would be democracy at its best. So lots of people can decide on whether or not they want to move this forward. The idea about a 5-town and a 6-town was that the ballot question, or even a town meeting question, it would be regarding a 6-town regional agreement, and so they would just be voting on that. And the other towns, if this were to move forward, would have they could be voting on a 6-town or a 5-town. And I don't know what that ballot question would look like right now, and I want to make sure, obviously we all don't want it to be too confusing. So we'll see if that's a possibility. The idea behind that, if one town, specifically Warwick, did not want to participate, we would have a reading of the other 5 towns that they still wanted to go forward. This process will obviously involve in the next month conversations with town officials to see if they like that idea. And then the other part to that was I talked to Jay Berry, Steve Hemmon, and Mac Reed about what would that mean for the regional agreement. And as you know, the law gives the planning board the option of presenting a regional agreement or agreements, plural. And their feeling was that because of the way that all the work for the six-town regional agreement has been put in place, it wouldn't be much of a heavy lift to make some modifications to that. We've already run assessments for 6 towns and 5 towns. We'd have to obviously revisit the composition of the school committee, and wherever Warwick was mentioned in that, that would have to be modified. So their feeling was they thought this was doable in a very much more reasonable timeframe, particularly if Desi, approves our 6th town and we finish that process. Let me see what else on that. We also have heard from our legislators that they have an interest in participating in a meeting or two with Desi. So Chris Lynch has sent out some dates to Greg, and he's going to share those with our legislators, and we'll see if we can arrange a meeting for them to participate in one of these conversations with Desi about the regional agreement. Specifically, we want to take a look at the time frame for the transition. That would be probably one of the topics, and the possibility of the ballot question, and the best way to go about that. So their input on that facet of it will be very helpful. We got all the way in our last meeting to the transition section of the regional agreement. And so when we meet on the 24th, we'll pick up on that part. Now you can see that summary knocked off 3 or 4 items on the agenda. And I decided it might make a lot of sense to just cover it there. And when we come to them again, if you had a specific question about it, we could go back to it. But let me just open it up. What are your thoughts, first of all, on before I write to the select boards to say, would you have any interest in having a 5-town regional district on a ballot question to see if the towns would support that as well as a 6th? I need to get some direction from you. If you think that's a good idea, I'll float it with them and have conversations and see what they're thinking about it. So Jane, you're not shy. Go ahead. Someone's talking?
Hey,
All right.
Dorinda's got her hand up. She's had it up for a while.
Where is she?
Well, that's okay. I kept putting it up and down. I was just thinking about, is there anything else that it could potentially affect that we haven't thought about? Like, we were trying to get more information or work on the potential transportation plan again. Does Warwick change that all, or was that like self-contained in that, or, just things like that? Like, is there anywhere else? I just wanted as a group to think, in addition to the agreement itself, is there anywhere else that this would modify what we have?
Well, we can identify. That's a great question, and I'll pursue that in terms of with Jay about which specific articles would we have to take a look at. So thank you for asking that question. I don't have an answer at the top of my head because I'd have to pull the regional agreement out and go through and see which ones pop out to that would need some attention to it. However, your point about, for example, transportation, we had 2 studies done. If anything, it reduces the transportation expense overall to the new district. In talking to Joanne Blyer, she was pretty clear that since routes change every year and student population is becoming less, that there might not even be a need for 2 buses, or to reduce times, maybe keep a bus and see what you do on that end. So that's duly noted. Was there anything else, Dorinda, so the general question is, what specific areas would we need to take a look at in the regional agreement that would need to be amended?
Yeah, no, I think it's, if we were doing that, I think it's pretty straightforward in the regional agreement itself. It's more like, is there anything that would become a question that wasn't a question specifically from Warwick, or just in general, like would it affect anything else that we've already done?
Okay. let me think about that some more, okay? I don't want to be, to rush that, but nothing major comes to mind right now in terms of, I don't see that as a hurdle. I think the hurdle would be, could it be presented in a way that wasn't really confusing? And that's a conversation for the attorney. I see Deb Loomer. Hi. You're on mute, Deb. Deb? Can't hear you.
Yeah, I was going to
Thanks.
say, I think it's a very good idea because originally, and I don't know the specifics, Warwick wanted to retain some autonomy over their elementary school. But I don't think I don't know if the people of Montague, for instance, understood that procedure. So somehow it would have to be explained that it isn't like Warwick gets to choose to go out. It's because they're already out.
Right.
And actually by voting, they would choose to be coming back in. So I just think that somehow that would have to be explained because it just seems like they might not understand the reasoning of why Warwick, they think they're opting out. So that's just my thought.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. That's true, because that probably would be, a natural question to ask. So they do have their independent districts, so their vote is to actually join, whereas the
Right.
others are already in it. Good, very good point. So let me just make a note of that. Okay. Yeah, and I was thinking, Deb, when you were talking, Dorinda, about, does it require any other reports that would have to be done? And none are coming to mind, but that doesn't mean that they're there, and having conversations with folks might bring it up. Greg, did you have something?
Yeah, I think it's just important to, in terms of what Deb was talking about, it's just to make it clear that there are three separate districts, two regional, one municipal. And then that makes it fairly easy to understand that these are three separate districts that were, voting to combine. And if Warwick votes not to, then you have two regional districts that are voting to combine.
Yep. So I'm going back to my original question, and which is, I'm looking for some feedback about, would you like me to float this idea with the select boards in the towns and have either conversations or meet with them, or because if you don't think that's a good idea to explore, then I won't do it. If you think the idea behind it perhaps may save some time down the road from starting this all process over again for 5-town regional, which I don't think anyone has the appetite for, that could be really helpful in getting that message.
I think it's a very good idea.
I do too. I mean, just speaking with the town administrators from most of these towns, they also think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Mhm.
So in the letter that I sent out, which I held off on, it will include two parts. One of them will be the ballot question support, and the other one will be their thoughts about a 5-town and a 6-town. And I thank you for Deb Loomer for bringing that up about Warwick, because we do need to be really clear in Greg on, how we explain that. All right, so that kind of wraps up everything on the proposal of the regional agreement. We're meeting with them on the 24th, and you'll see some other things along the way that I may just skip over because I thought it might be more efficient to present it that way, which I wasn't thinking about when I was putting the agenda together. All right, potential legislation, we talked about that. That would have to be, so in the conversation, if I had this conversation, just cut me off, just say we already heard it, because meetings are blending and I've talked to so many people. The first idea was around having I think the attorney saw that anything done with Chapter 71, Section 15, that if it appeared like we were trying to amend that would be taking many years, because to change a law that has already been enacted is very difficult to do. So his thinking was it would have to be legislation very specific to the towns, and it would list the towns, and and it would have to be, you know, the exception to it. Then there was some conversation about, and I don't have the answer to this, about would require a home rule petition on you know, each town voting to to have our legislators move that forward. And if it ends up that that has to happen, then I'm not sure this will happen, because that would also take a long time. When Warwick has been in the works of trying to do some things regarding school choice, we've been at it for a couple of years through a home rule petition, and that's still in the work. So that could be a difficult process. So those are the things that we're going to have to try to figure out if we be able to pull together to have a ballot question. So more conversations with Desi about that, with the attorney, Kevin Branahan, and same thing with transitional funding, you know, having conversations about what that amount should be. So if we change the warrant article or the ballot question, and we're having it contingent upon funding, at one of our previous meetings with Desi, and the attorney was there, it was determined that it would really have to include a number, because just having a generic, you know, depending on funding is not, that's not going to fly. So that's going to take more work to actually have a number that we would put in the warrant article, that this is the amount of money that we would need in order to do this. And then could it be matched with some other funds? You know, so it's going to bring up a lot of different questions, but I will try to work with Mac and along with Greg and the other folks to see if we could hone in on a reasonable amount of money that we're going to make it contingent upon. Okay, anything on that one?
I thought you talked about grants for that.
We did, but
Now
maybe,
you're
I
talking
mean,
about the town, assessing the towns at the time they're voting to go into it. They would vote $2 a year for the transition.
Oh, I don't think there's any grants out there anymore, Jane.
Well, I'm not positive about that, but you're probably right.
Well, we could.
If we're going to throw a dollar sign into this vote, how are we going to arrive at that for each individual town? And what's that going to do to the whole prospect? I
all
think,
right, so I'm being
I think the other question is, I've got to read it some more. But when I look at the rural towns documentation, I'm seeing a loophole there that could fund it.
I was just thinking of the same thing, Jane. I was going to mention that.
What would that be?
If you've read it more than I have, then you explain it.
Well, what came out with the rural aid funding was an email. It was, I believe, from Michelle Griffin that said this money should be used for regionalization or shared services or that. But then when I asked Natalie Blay, who was, you know, founder of the editor of this, what's the author, that's what I'm looking for. She said, well, it can be used for pretty much anything, but that is not what came out from Desi. So I was thinking the same thing, but it goes to the schools. So the school has to give that money up. It goes to each district. On the other hand, we could ask our legislators to ask the governor for money too, because there is no more ENR grants or DESI grants. And you know, I've been told by them if we really have a good case for something, that they would go to the governor and ask if there was money available. But
So
that doesn't mean there's going to be money available. But if they want us to start being more efficient in the state with their money, then you would think that they could come up with something.
Yeah, so there are 2 points. First of all, Jane, going back to yours for a minute. This is not a dollar amount for the towns. This is the transition money that would come into the new regional school district. And that's for the new school committee and transition committee to hire people, resolve contracts and so forth. So that money's for that, but it raises two
Well,
issues.
Alan,
Al,
but,
wait a
but
second.
wait, Alan,
Yeah.
you have to say that it's contingent on state funding. That's the key, Jane.
Right.
It's not contingent on town funding. It's contingent on state funding, and the state needs a dollar amount. So I think that's where the confusion lay.
Okay, because if you're gonna put a dollar amount that each
No.
town needs to
Mm.
come up with,
No,
No,
I can
No.
tell you right now to forget the whole vote.
no, that's not
No.
that's not what this was about. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify that.
yeah,
Good,
so.
thank you.
So it's transition money coming from the state. However, it does raise the question, it could be transition money, coming from the state or grants. And so I'm going to make a note that I don't care where it comes from. It either comes from the state and maybe some grants. But the other thing I just thought of is it needs to be a timeline because there has to be a point where we either have the money or we don't. So I'm going to make a little note that it's going to be within whatever the time frame is. So that is a conversation that we'll need to hammer out with Desi in the as we go through the regional agreement and with
I
our
would-
legislators.
I would suggest writing something down
Mhm.
or a proposal. And if Desi says no, or is it going to be is it going to be a meeting with Desi and our legislators and you?
I think that's going to
Because-
be one of the topics.
Yeah, I would write it all down and present a proposal. Not just say we need transitional money.
I know.
Say it's got to be worded in
Yeah.
a proposal.
Yeah, and I can
we-
list
we
what it
have
would
to
be used for.
Very specific of what we say so that it can't be misinterpreted, not just by Desi, but by all of our residents who hear what we say and who look at our minutes and whatever else. We've got to be specific
Right. I
and
agree.
clear.
Yeah, and that is laid out in what the transition money is used for. So we can certainly just, put that out for that to make that clear on the need for it. So that is,
Hey, Alan, I just to piggyback on what Michelle was saying, I'm going to reach out to the governor's office. I connected with Tom Moreau at the Greenfield event, and he was interested in connecting. So I'm going to reach out to him this week. I wanted to get past this whole MASC stuff.
okay. So I'll put it on the next agenda, give an update and see if we can agree on something. I think one of the key players will be talking to Mac Reed again, who actually went through this process with when he was superintendent. And he was the one that helped me put together in the long range plan who we need to hire part-time and what would be a reasonable number of hours and how much it would be. So that's where that number came from. So we'll see if we can refine that. So I think we have just done 4, 5. And then now we're on 6. So I reached out to the Office of Campaign and Finance to, and my sole purpose for reaching out didn't end up the purpose that I thought was going to be, which was After I saw the scope of work that Dorinder and Matt Lord put together, and whomever else was involved in that, I thought that was really good. And I thought, well, if we're going to hire a professional or someone to do this, let's be really clear in our ask about what we want them to do and what is allowed for us to ask, to ask them to do. So we sort of put guardrails up. So when I explained to them what I was looking for, the Office of Campaign and Finance, and what the guardrails, I was looking for guardrails, what I got was, well, they're not guardrails, they're prohibitions.
Ooh,
I
okay.
was like, oh, not what I thought I was going to hear. So, so basically, in terms of what I had asked for, what would be the guardrails for hiring a professional? It was, you can't do that. You can't use public funds to hire someone to do this outreach effort. That's not guardrails, that's a prohibition. So we can't do that. We can, however, use the money. For example, one of the suggestions was to spend the money, some of the money, to refresh our website, upgrade it, make it more friendly, have someone involved in helping out in that area over the next several months. And that would be permissible. On the brochure, that was okay. We got the green light on that, but that was done again by people not paid, putting a lot of time and effort into it, including everyone here. And so, that makes it okay. So it's a good thing we didn't have a professional put that together. That wouldn't have been okay. So, we kind of need to be really careful, in moving forward. We were really good about the presentations. We're giving information, and we made it clear throughout the presentation. Listen, we are giving you information. We're telling you what we feel the benefits are. We've studied this for a long time. In the end, you decide. Go to our website. You can read, everything about it. You can ask questions. We'll be updating that, and then you decide. So
Well,
who's talking? Karen, is your hand?
Yeah, it is. So just skip down to number 8 and C, part C. Would a prohibition apply also to partnering with a town official? It would seem to me that that's being partisan. In
If
other
the
words,
town official, if the town official is not being paid, I'm thinking out loud now. I'm going through their little, so the town official is not being paid. The town official, if the town official is involved from the perspective of information, and
Well-
not advocating
well,
for or
right.
against.
Right,
Yeah,
so
you
you can't.
No.
I don't
No.
think you can.
No
No.
one can. I mean, this
No.
pertains to, anyone who is using public equipment or anything to tell their side, like to tell people to vote on, whatever side. You just can't do that. You're using public funds.
Now, one of
I
the
mean,
things,
I didn't think of it as a consultant at the time. When I was saying we need a consultant, I was thinking that person is not bipartisan, one side or the other. It would be just an independent person. And I didn't think about this, through about campaign and finance. I mean,
Mhm.
no public official can use their website, paper, computers, anything.
But aren't people using that to say no in their public forums with their
So that's a
groups?
good question too.
well, certainly if you're using public funds, which is using district resources, that
Mhm.
would probably be a prohibition,
Right.
depending on the content. So
Mhm.
that requires a little more deeper dive into it.
Yeah.
You know, the process when you look at private funds, it's a fairly simple process to go to the town clerk, because you don't lose your right as a citizen to, you know, take a position.
Right.
So anyone can go to their town clerk to fill out the form and register to be a ballot question committee, to be on a ballot question committee. And then the responsibility, so you file that. And then the responsibility is over time, you're collecting money. That's the purpose of the campaign. You have to, you know, you have the name of the person, you have the amount that they contributed, and you have the purpose, how that money was used. And so that's just updated over the course of the event until, you know, a vote or something happens. So that would require someone in each town, if they chose to do this, to register, file with the town clerk, and then doesn't cost anything. And then it's just full disclosure and keep track of the finances. That was one of the reasons, that was not the reason I called the campaign office, but I learned more than I wanted to.
We all
But
did.
it's
Jane.
good. It's a good thing.
Jane, you're on mute. Jane, can't hear you.
I
There
had a
we go.
sneezing fit and I turned off the mic.
Oh, thank you.
What is it you have to ask the town clerk to allow you to register as?
So it's a campaign, no, it's a ballot question committee.
We are not certain that we're going to have ballot questions. So
Yeah.
how does that apply?
Right.
Well, that's how they set up, I guess, the well, you do have a ballot. Let me think about this. You have a ballot, either you have a ballot at a regular town meeting, open town meeting, or you have a ballot at a special election. They're still called ballots. And if it requires a vote of the town, regardless of the forum, it's a ballot.
Well, my interpretation of ballot is different, and I'm going to tell the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that they're wrong and I'm right. Where will that get us?
You go for it, girl. I don't know.
They interpret semantics to their advantage each time they interpret them.
So I think we're going to, you know, need to give that some more thought. So I thought maybe the most productive way to handle this is we do two things here. We first take a look at what could we do that doesn't require money, and we list those things, and it may require, you know, resources, and it may be more palatable if we identify these things could be done, but it takes, you know, the time and effort, resources, people resources. And then maybe it becomes more doable if, like, one person says, I'll work with several people to do this one thing. And then someone else says, I'll work to do this one thing. And we handle it that way. But before we figure out what the one thing might be, we should kind of develop a list of what those might be. You know, an example of one that would require money might be the website. We say, okay, so we put that out there, and then we move forward, if we're going with that, with getting someone to be able to do that. Does that make sense? So we could start with that by looking at the list we have and then add to it. Jane, I think is your hand up? Or
My hand is up. I can't find my little flag down here. How many people look at our website? How good is the distribution from our website?
Dorinda, do
I
we
was
have
with
a
some
track record?
people today. And the conversation went to things being online. And every single one of them said, I don't do that. I don't go online. I don't go to that website. A couple of them even said, I don't have a computer and I don't have a smartphone and I don't want one.
Yep.
So is putting a lot of effort into a website that we have, do we track who goes there? Or how many go there? Do we have any idea whether it does us any good?
I think we could set it up so that
Well,
could happen.
there should be analytics on it, Jane, but but I don't know exactly. I don't have keys to it, so I don't know where to, but there should
Right.
be. Yeah.
I talked to no one who went out to that website lately.
Yeah.
Our website. You,
I think Dorinda has. Dorinda
they'll
has
ask me a question, I'll say, it's all on the website. It's all on the Six-Town website. You should go read. I can't be bothered. I don't do that, whatever. So my question is, how effective is a website?
I think it depends on location and demographics and stuff, but I can look into that and see how many people have visited it. I haven't looked into that, but it needs to be somewhere, right? Like, I mean, we could, once we make the FAQ and get it how we like it, we could print it and leave it at the library or somewhere, or the senior centers or different places. We could print it. But I think yeah, it's a good point. It can be in multiple locations.
So
it's
Jane,
our
go
posting
ahead.
requirement too. It's something we have to have anyway. So
Jane, let me ask you a question. As you are talking to friends and people you know, where do they go for information? Where could we put it that they would pay attention?
Well, I wish I'd asked them that question, but the discussion was about some other stuff that you can read online all the time. And I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is. The answer is to have every kind of media available. Newspaper, radio, TV, websites.
Yeah.
But we can't, my point is, we can't depend on the website to do
Everything.
the outreach for us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed. Deb?
244 out of our 12,000 people.
Oh, oh.
But 244, that's like pretty good. I don't know. I have no idea if that's good.
Is it 244 unique or 244? If I were
244 unique.
Unique.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Deb
But yeah,
Pote?
out of 12,000 is, could be better.
Well, what is it?
I've heard a lot of people who've gone to the website, Jane, and so we do have to have all sorts of media. I do think it's very smart to go to senior centers and talk to people and do information sessions. It's like go and do a presentation for already organized groups who are there. I mean, I know that the Pioneer School Committee has gone to talk about their school, and I think it would be smart to do outreach to groups specifically to talk about that. And I also think would be very smart to do is to go with young parents, because I think they're the most important people to partner up with, who see the importance of their future with their 5-year-old or their fourth grader, for what it's going to look like, because they don't have the same feelings that someone who currently has a student there or has or alums of Pioneer. These young parents want to know that something is going to be different in the future. So to me, those are the most important people we should be targeting and asking them, come with me, and not because they necessarily have to agree with regionalization, but they can speak to what they want for their child. I mean, those are the conversations I had, and they're just talking about, oh, I want a vibrant theater program, or I want a full band, or I want my son or my child to play soccer at their school and not go to another school to co-op. I mean, that's what they're talking about. So to me, one of the things we need to be doing is cultivating relationships with people who are willing to come with us. And again, not to necessarily present with us at all, but to be able to share their vision of what they want out of a high school or middle school experience.
So Deb, those are all really good comments. How do we engage them? What mechanism do we do?
Well, I mean, I did outreach with Dorinda. We met. I probably now know 4 families that I've actively spoken to over the last few months. That one family knew another family, and I didn't know really any of those families before this fall. And they came and they talked about what they want out of a public high school experience. And they were all people who wanted to stay in a public school setting, didn't have plans to send their children to a private school, and were very surprised to hear at the size of the local schools and what was happening. And they're very aware, and obviously they're very tech savvy, and they are curious about the website, have gone to the website, but are mostly really aware of what they want for their future. And those are the people I think who have the most powerful voice, because they're the ones who will be dealing with potentially a school that might have a population of 60 in 4 years, if people don't vote. Like, how small is too small? That's what I spent all my time thinking about. How small is too small? At what point do people say, oh, we've gone over the cliff, now I want to regionalize? I mean, really. So this is what I want to keep talking about, and getting those people. How do you defend what you have when you're talking to a parent who's got 3 children who are in the middle of elementary school, and say this is a good place because it's small and we're like a family? I don't think that's what people want, but I mean, I really don't. I think they want something that's stable and robust and exciting and full of opportunities.
So
But
so
I guess I would. I'm not committing to anything, but I guess I would really encourage people to find young families that are maybe only vaguely aware of Sixth Town in your community. And I know that you talk to someone like, oh gosh, help me, Greg. I spoke to him several times. He's a great person from Uppingill. You talk to that guy?
Isaac.
Isaac, right. You
Right,
talk to
Isaac
Isaac.
Bingham, yeah.
Isaac Bingham, and boy, he would go with you wherever you wanted to go to talk about this. And he's a very powerful advocate for the 6 towns. And he's somebody that if he were in my district area, I would go everywhere with him. I literally would plan everything around his schedule to make it happen. And I have people like that in my town that I think who are younger or aren't as connected to the community, but would just go just as a voice who wants to share out what they might want. Again, not necessarily saying I want to regionalize, but just saying this is what I would like to see in a high school. And I think that's a fair thing to be able to say. What do you want? And to be able to speak to that, and what do we currently have, and what could we have? Does that make sense?
yeah,
So
it
I
makes
just think we
a
all
lot of
need to
sense.
cultivate some relationships with people. I mean, I'm a introvert, and I force myself to talk to people, and I can't help any of you. I can only tell you that if I can do it, you can do it. You just have to start talking to people, and people are interested. And we look around, I drive by all those signs that have hands off our schools, vote no for the regionalization. I see those signs, and I drive by the signs that say more students, more opportunities. There's a conversation to be had when you say, why do you have this sign in front of your house? I'm curious, and people will tell you. So I just think, talk to the people who have the sign that you feel is going to really speak to what you want. I mean, I don't know, but that's if I'm going to do anything, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be focusing on young parents.
So Deb, as
Yes.
I'm listening to you, a couple things come to mind. One of them, I think, young parents read books to their kids and visit the libraries often and maybe to get books and stuff. So maybe we could have some literature there or go to the library or even have, you know, let them know we're having a little community hour or something and
Well, that's where
invite
I
them.
held my meetings, was at the
Right, exactly.
library. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. You go to the library during children's hour or story time and just, go and just chit chat with some parents.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think people are afraid to talk to other people in these
Yeah.
communities. I mean, that's what I would do if you really don't know what's going on. But
Yeah, and another area, I think Karen's hands up. I'll just finish this sentence. And another area might be going to the events, particularly elementary events, you know, if they have you know, sports programs or soccer or whatever they have, the feeder, you know, a softball league for young kids, you know, in my community in the past, you know, there would be youth soccer programs and so forth. So going and talking to parents on the sideline and just, you know, let them know that, you know, what we're trying to do and and then, like you say, get their thoughts. So that's another, you know, possibility. So I think that's a great idea to think about where we could go, where they are, the younger parents are. Karen, are you, see, my computer cut off the top of your head, so I think I see your hand. Karen, are you,
Yes, yeah.
okay.
Um, I don't think it's a horrible thing to suggest that some of these people who are not too familiar with what we have for high schools is to visit, spend a half a day at each of the high schools to get a feel for how the current high schools are different from each other and what might become of joining them together and that sort of thing. Because, I mean, as a person who I probably went for 20 job interviews over my career. And not because I kept getting fired, folks, because we kept moving around the country. And I found the most helpful thing was classroom visits to decide whether this was the place I wanted to be to teach. So I think if you have the time, if the parents have the time and they really want to know what their particular high school and the other high school are like, request a visit. And, you know, they can ensure that it's not choreographed too.
Yeah, the only, and I don't disagree with that. I think the what you don't know is what they could be like together and
That
pulling
that
those talented, you know,
that
talented people together.
that is true. But if you're trying to decide we want something different from what we have, it could be very valuable seeing what's going on in the other half.
I'm not so sure the schools are going to be open to a lot of people visiting with the
No, I
security.
don't think it'll be a lot of people that would take someone up on that. And it might be that, I don't know, that
Or
they
maybe,
have open houses in the fall. I don't know why it couldn't be arranged for people to go to the other school sometime in the spring before the vote.
So Karen, you probably know that we tried to reach out to the PTO and just wanted to give them some information. We were not allowed to. We wanted to just send out some general information to the public and I mean to our parents. We were not allowed to. And we took a position, or maybe I personally took a position, that if one district wasn't going to allow it, I wasn't going to ask the other because I didn't want it to become this one's willing and this one's not. So if I didn't get agreement, then we just didn't do it. So so I only say that because a small thing like let's go to an open house, I don't think that would be allowed. A small thing like saying, can we go to a PTO meeting and just share and hear what parents have to say? Not present, not do anything formal, just hear what their concerns are, hear what they would like to see, whether it
I,
be in their district or another. We're not allowed to do that. We haven't been allowed to.
If it's a public open house, I mean, at Turner's, when there was an open house, there was an open house. Anybody from any town, any person can go to an open house if a school is saying
Right.
it's an open house. So
Right.
what we could do is when we find out when open houses are going to be held, we could just advertise, here are the open houses that you could go to as part of your decision-making process.
Right.
No
Right.
one could stop
Okay.
someone from
Yeah.
going into another school.
Right. Right. That
Okay.
exactly. As
Okay.
long as, you know, the people coming in aren't presenting something, they're just coming to find out. I don't see how the school could disagree with that, you know?
No, not on open houses, just going in and observing. That is what I was thinking. I
Well,
mean, I've been to the open houses and it's not anything like a classroom. It's the teachers showing the parents what the students have done. So,
well, that's valuable too. I mean,
yeah,
I always
yeah.
used to talk about not only the what, but the how, and how the classes operated, and what the size of the classes were, and what the options were. So it wasn't just, okay, here's some of what your kids have done.
Well, I would hope, because remember the audience, we're trying to get people that aren't familiar with the school, because I
That's
would
right.
hope
That's
that
right.
any parent would know what kids are doing and what their options are, and so we're
No,
trying to invite other people that don't
not
have.
not necessarily true in a teenager. Sometimes there's not a whole lot of talk about that kind of thing. So yeah, like most of them wouldn't know that they had a dedicated 3-ring binder for this class that always had a schedule of what was coming up for the next week or two, and those things they found very helpful to find to learn. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to kind of reel this. This is good
Good.
conversation, but I'm going to go back to the original focus.
Good. I have
and
another commitment at 8:00.
yeah,
Okay,
and
so
sort of refocus this
roll
so
on.
so we can be done by this.
Okay.
So brochure is already done. So that's done. Postcards, that's money. Signs, that's money. Newspaper articles, no money. Doing things, partnering with town officials and hearing their ideas, that's no money. Being on a select board agenda and covering things, that's no money. Public access in terms of, we could probably have something on the broadcast stations, probably maybe on the radio, because, you know, that's no money. By the way, whoever said, try to reach out to all the different venues that different populations or ages or whatever the population that people have, we've got to figure out what is the best news or mechanism or however that they get their information, and then try to get the information to them that way. QR codes and putting those around town directing them to the website is no money. The library idea that came up and going to soccer games and so forth, and maybe getting people willing to just, you know, ask some questions, engage in conversation, that's no money. It is people resources. So when I say no money, that's only, you know, focusing on the money part. It's time and effort. We talked about small group meetings, newspaper series, questions and answers. If we could get these questions that Deborah was talking about, or even if we had a page where we were depositing the information that Deborah was talking about on what people want to see in their schools, and put that out so that people, you know, could sort of be envisioning what this new school district could look like. I think that could be really powerful. I kind of like that idea. It was a matter of what do we do with that information? We get it. So that could be, you know, the what if, and then have what people are looking for. That would also be super helpful if this passes for the transitional school committee to be looking at this information, and for the staff and so forth. website, that's no money. I mean, that's money. Was there another page? Other ideas? That's what we came up with before. Jane?
How about offering the churches copies of our brochure to
Oh,
put in their distribution wherever they have literature to be picked up or passed out to all their parishioners.
that's a great idea. We could do the same thing with businesses, right? Having literature where people most commonly go, or have something on the bulletin board where they might look at.
Right?
Shouldn't everyone get it?
Who
Yeah,
is
I thought
talking?
we were gonna mail it.
Yeah. Aren't we mailing it to everyone, or are we also thinking about people who might not be on the list? Like, then wouldn't they not be registered voters? Or is it just for redundancy, sort of?
I was thinking that there would be more than one brochure, more than one publication, more than one attempt to contact people.
Got it.
When questions come in, we might want to have a double-sided page that says, these are the questions, these are the answers.
Yeah, because of the nature of this brochure, we're able to do this. And I don't want to get into all the layers that I've been in for the last 3 days on this, but we would, those efforts are going to end up privately financed.
This brochure that's being mailed out is going to be privately financed.
No, this one is not.
Okay.
All right. And any other new ideas?
If people have questions after the brochure goes out, is there a place to email or call?
They
Well,
get
that would
referred to
be-
this.
We have something through the website, and I don't think people are using it, but we've mentioned it every time that there is a place for them to ask questions through the website. They can also we have an email which I check fairly regularly. So I
Oh, you have an email. Okay.
yeah.
And can they join one of our meetings?
Of course.
Okay, so
It's open.
from the website, there is a link to when we have a meeting.
Always.
And there could be a spot near the beginning, so they wouldn't have to stay for the whole thing if they didn't want to, where they could ask questions.
Public comment.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a mechanism for, I don't know what it's called, Facebook page or some place where we could, other than our website, where we could have information, and another forum that we don't have the question and answers just on our website, but we have it in
Well,
another.
we do have it on a Facebook page. We just, we don't accept comments because it gets,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not a road you want to go down.
no.
Oh,
mm-mm.
you
However,
But I do know a lot of people, whether it's rumor, whether it's true, factual or not, they say I'll just give you an example with the Leiden Bernardston shared services project that we're doing. We've had, survey done. We've had a public forum. We're going to have another one. It's been in the newspaper, it's been all over. And what I continually hear is, on Facebook, or rumor has it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where did you get the rumor? And they say Facebook.
Uh,
So That's what I hear a lot.
Mhm.
Well, anybody
So,
can say anything they want on Facebook.
Yeah.
right, right.
Well, someone could sponsor, or whatever the word is, a Facebook page other than us to hear questions, and we could help maybe answer. I don't know. Let's give that a little more thought, because
Yeah.
there's an
Well,
upside and a
anyone can
downside.
anyone can put out anything on their private Facebook page.
Facebook. Yeah.
And that can even be publicly sent out. It doesn't matter. If it's a private Facebook page, I mean, you have to be careful if you're a public official about what you say, but
Right.
absolutely are protected under the First Amendment to say, within the bounds of free speech to be able to say your opinions.
But we had many, many months ago, we had long discussions about a Facebook page and accepting comments. And I remember one of the reasons we said we weren't accepting comments was because they would not be from the local 6 towns. They could be from all over the country,
Mm,
probably all over the world.
Mhm.
And we just didn't want to get into having to deal with questions from Pennsylvania and West Virginia and California.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but that's a good point. So how do you feel about this? And Greg, how do you feel about this? If all of us go out and like Deb suggests, small groups and talk to people, and one of the things would you be willing to maybe serve on a an outreach and maybe handle one item and maybe have a conversation about it? And if they said, yeah, I would think about that, and they gave that contact information, name and number, to Greg, maybe name, number, and email if they have one. And then we could reach out to them. I'd be willing to reach out to them and talk to them and see what their comfort level is of what they might be able to be willing to do. And sort of try to do that in the next couple of weeks to get, I'd be happy if 7 or 8 people all of a sudden said, yeah, I'd be willing to look into this a little bit. So can we try that?
Well, I mean, I'm worried about capacity right now. I mean, we're coming into Thanksgiving. I'm going on vacation in December, which is long overdue. Um, and I've been doing 4 nights a week for the last like 8 weeks. So I just, I'm sort of out of time. If someone else wants to take that on, I mean, I think it's a good idea. I just, I only have so much capacity right now. I've literally been doing Monday through Thursday night, and then, I've kind of fall on the floor for Friday and Saturday and slowly recover on Sunday to get back into, 12-hour days again. So,
yeah, me
I'm with
too.
Greg.
Me too. It's a Monday
yeah, well, I
through
mean,
Thursday.
we need help, but it can't keep calling, just falling
Yeah,
on
the
a small
same
amount of
people.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just got off doing almost two presentations, plus my Gill Select Board meetings, plus my Deerfield Select Board meetings, plus these meetings, plus FERCog meetings, plus, you name it. It goes on and on. So, um,
Yeah.
I'm sort of spent at this point.
Yeah, we have similar schedules.
Yeah. Well, Alan, even you more so. So,
How can we really need 4th, 5th, 6th grade parents.
so
I'm
how do we
thinking,
get them? How do we get to
now,
contact
how do
them?
we get them?
yeah, I think it's challenging right now because people, we're in such a polarized sort of political landscape right now that people are not really eager to stick their neck out.
Right.
And this is understandably a very contentious topic.
Mm,
I like Deb's point about having a conversation with the people that have the lawn sign up. Do they understand what that's saying? I mean, I don't even know what it's saying. If you say keep your hands off my school, well, the schools belong to the towns. They belong to the taxpayers. It's like, are they telling the taxpayers to keep their hands off their schools? If they do that and they just give them minimum what they have to give, they probably wouldn't like that. but that would definitely be keeping their hands off their schools. So, you know, it's unfortunate because it comes up with where you're either for the planning board or against the planning board, but the planning board was conceived by the towns. So I'm not sure what that message is saying, and I don't know if they are. I think people should talk to people with their signs and make sure they clearly understand what that's about.
Well,
Deb, I see you came back on.
I didn't intend to, like, I'm not going to go and talk to anybody who's got one of
Right.
those signs, but to the people who have the you know, the signs that support the work that we've been doing or the information we've been sharing and the idea that regionalizing would be more sustainable. Those are people you can, you know, say, hey, you have a sign. Why would you, you know, have that sign? I also think collaborating with other towns, like I can see like going with Isaac and doing like a little info session. Not I cannot, there's no way I would ever get into the weeds about this or that. And I would make it really clear that it was not a formal presentation, and there probably will be a series of those in the spring, right? Maybe Greg and Alan, maybe. But just being able to just talk about what is it that you want in a public school, that kind of stuff, gathering information, that seems cool, and being able to just talk about it and humanizing like who I am and, you know, who Isaac is and what our experience has been like. I mean, and not presenting as anything that we can necessarily explain if people have concerns or worries, but just making it sound like we're, you know, who we are as a committee. That's the stuff that really bothers me, I think, is as if we're this rogue committee that's driving something when all we're doing is sharing out information and recommendations, and it's up to the town. So if I have any, and I'm not saying I want to like organize any of this, but I'm definitely willing to maybe partner with Isaac if he's willing to, just to have conversations at our local libraries about people who might be interested in having conversations. And that's probably all I would promise anybody is, and people can come, they can come and they can talk about it. And as long as it's not like a formalized, and if it turns out there's a back and forth and I can't answer the question, I'm just going to say I can't really answer that. You're going to have to come back when we have a more formal presentation with a slideshow.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to work for me. But I'm willing to do that, and putting a sign up in the library saying this is the time I'll be there. And, you know, and
All right, thank you. You know, when we talk about
I don't want to do it between now and the holidays.
Right.
I would do it in January.
But that's why I was so glad to see we got the extension, because I had a whole bunch of meetings lined up with things we had to decide, and we have more time to you know, do more research on that. So that's good. We can pick up. I still want to keep one on the books, and then after Christmas, let's come back together and then
I'm willing to write another My Turn. I can always write.
Yeah, you did a great
Slow
job
down.
on that.
Thank you, Jane. Appreciate you.
The other thing is those people that are familiar, that come into contact, like the librarian, for example, if that person became, you know, pretty well versed in what our findings were and what the benefits are and so forth, then as they're talking to people, I mean, they might be willing to share that as well, but maybe not. Maybe that would.
I can only speak for her. She tries to steer away from anything because she knows she's very neutral, which she feels like that's her role, is to be neutral. She doesn't get in the weeds.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Should she? I mean, that's a town official again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, Karen, I want to talk to you a little bit more later about that. So if I need to make another phone call, get clarification on that. Because I would like to see people that, you know, if they have an interest and they happen to be a town official or whatever, they should be able to participate. So I'll see if
I think they have, come on, Greg, you know the answer to this. They have to register. And the town has to make a declaration about them.
Yeah, well,
And,
yeah, and there's got to be disclosure, and yeah, I mean, I think there is ways.
It's not difficult, it's just
No.
annoying.
I think you
Uh,
could, as an individual, you're free to say whatever, but it's not in that official capacity, and that has to be clear.
Yeah, you just have to state it.
Yeah,
I
right.
think
I
you have to do it
wonder
on your own time and out of your own
That's
That's
pocket.
right. That's
That's
right.
right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
And most town officials know that already.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's
Alan,
just,
I would
some
would
of our
suggest we
leaders don't know that,
move
though.
on to the next.
I'm
I mean,
trying to.
yeah, I would, and probably maybe pass over the MASC just because I think that's going to be too long of a discussion, and it's getting close to 8.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's not. I can just tell you, I listened to a presentation about the benefits of regionalization, and I'll share that, I guess, in more detail. But we're hearing that support the changes to the formula, and there are benefits to, they talked about declining enrollment. There was a lot of stuff that I saw at these that really mimicked what we've been saying for a while.
Mm.
It's the only thing that I did not like in in the presentation. It said regionalization is not the answer. And then when pushed and asked more in depth about it, it was really kind of a lack of understanding of what that was about. I know I saw that when I went to the DESI presentation, and I listened to people come up and offer their opinions about what's happening in their district. And there's no question it's all tied to the funding of it, but they're not really getting into the weeds about, it's not just about the money. That it's about the economy of scale. It's about robust programs. It's about bringing things back. I didn't hear any of that, because just bringing money in doesn't necessarily address any of the issues that we've been talking about on the gains by having more population. So I guess I'll leave it at that. We have on here at least one meeting and I'd like to keep it in case anything critical comes up, that, to have a meeting to resolve an issue or two, or get more feedback. And what was it? December something, December
Second?
2nd, which is
Mhm.
a Tuesday. I'd like to just keep that there for now.
Mhm.
And if not needed, then, and we're working forward with regional agreements and there's no big issue that has to be resolved, then happy holidays. And, I'll communicate with you on updates of where we are.
Right.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Does anyone have anything that you'd like to see on the future agenda?
I would just like to, if you keep your old newspapers, there was an excellent Life and Times article Saturday in the Recorder, entitled "What Truly Prepares Students for Success" by Doug Selwyn, if you know him.
Yeah.
Yep.
What paper? Recorder when?
The Recorder on the 8th, which was Saturday.
Okay.
And it's about the new DESE proposal for end of course testing,
Mm.
and how it's at odds with what they have put out as what a Massachusetts graduate should be able to do when they graduate. And, he's very firm on one way or the other.
Can you just say his name again?
Doug Selwyn, Selwyn.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Would
Okay.
someone like to make a motion?
I move that we end this meeting.
We adjourn.
Second.
All right. So we had Karen made it, and Michelle, did you second?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so it's at what is it, 7:55? Kept
Mhm.
to our timeline. I appreciate all the dialogue, a lot of good ideas, and I wish you the best. Have a nice Thanksgiving, and we will
Yes.
catch you on the
You
other side.
too.
Happy
right, thank you.
Thanksgiving,
Thank you.
everyone.
The
Yeah.
same to you
Right.
all.
Take care.
Happy
Bye.
Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.